I find this interesting. Adidas, they went crawling on back to our anti-Semitic friend Ye. Friend is the type of term I use for anybody. Okay, really just acquaintance or person that I know very casually, not a real friend. But they went crawling back.
My casual Nazi acquaintance.
Right. And they were like, "Listen, Ye, we got all these shoes. You really screwed us over, but we'll let you get back in and give you your cut if you let us sell these." And they made over $500 million, a cool half a bill, and I find that interesting. I think that they had to take a real ethical leap there, especially after all of the things that they said and how adamant they were about how much they disagreed with everything Ye stood for. But money talks, I guess, and I don't know. Is it just as simple as they wanted money? Is this defensible,
Yes.
Christian? What do you think?
As indefensible as every other corporation that pretends to have any form of ethics or scruples.
Right.
All of them are just driven by money. They will lie and say whatever nonsense will get them closer to money. And that's it. And if you for 1 second believe, and I'm not trying to be cynical, and I honestly don't even think I'm like making anything up. Corporations will say the thing that is the vector closest to money. So if they're saying anything that you agree with or you think is ethical or unethical, that decision was solely made on basically a market research that determined that should be their stance. So the fact that Adidas decided to sell $500 million worth of Nazi shoes, well, I'm pretty sure they've done it in the past.
But I will say, I do
sure
think
that adds up.
That's fair. I do think you need to follow the money, though, to know that I think this was their last resort. I think this was the last thing they wanted to do in order to still come out somewhat in the black on their investment here, because I think their first choice, if I remember correctly, was to debrand the shoes and take the Yeezy off of them and just say, hey, yes, we know these are Yeezy silhouettes, but they're just Adidas. Right?
Just Adidas, they say.
That was their top option. And I believe I remember one, like their CEO or whatever, saying that they even considered burning them and taking like a write-off on them, which I guess would have gotten them back some sort of, recoupment for their losses. I think this was the last in the chain. They walked through all the available options, and this was the only one left for them for whatever.
You know what? I will say this. And maybe you guys, for all of my neoliberals, for all my capitalists out there that are like, Christian, you're fundamentally flawed, because this podcast is about fashion, which is consumerism. What is your problem? But beyond that, I want to throw you guys a bone. I think that it is certainly better to sell those shoes than to burn them to the ground. I think that would have been such an empty gesture. That would have been such a middle finger to like society writ large.
Right.
To just burn $500 million worth of shoes, just to be like, see, we've always been the good guys.
We're the good guys, yeah. Isn't it obvious?
Isn't it obvious? We just burned a mountain of shoes. Meanwhile, the water in Key, what do you call it? The Florida Keys is 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
True.
Isn't that terrifying? The ocean water. And I don't want to say it because it is really sad. The coral reef, the coral there is bleaching very rapidly. It is almost certainly going to die off, and it's kind of tragic. That's an aside. My point is, don't burn shoes.
Blanks makes the point about donation, and I do think probably the most ethically sound option, if money were no object, would straight up be to just give them away to like people that need shoes, low-income people, whatever. But obviously they're not going to do that because that would be a complete loss. Wouldn't even be able to write it off or whatever.
Think about it.
But maybe I'm just a complete nihilist, but I don't even know if they would have gotten the credit that they would maybe deserve for doing that, because I think there's some contingent of people that would be like, oh, so you're just happy giving the entire world sneakers that have a Nazi's name on it, huh? You're happy
Well,
doing that?
they could have also said something like, "Listen, we're going to sell the rest of these Yeezys, and we're getting into like the Israeli government." I
Right,
don't know,
that's the move.
some
If you
like
want to support Jewish
anti-defamation league.
people, you give all your money to the Israeli government. We know this.
They know what to do.
Yeah.
They're gonna do something good with it.
Right.
No, I don't know. I think they could have sold $500 million worth of shoes and given it to a non-for-profit organization, somebody who is actually ethical, who is in favor or is in some way stopping Nazis.
Right.
I don't know. Give it to
Listen, I've definitely
Eisenhower.
seen there are at least a handful of people, I've seen them on the History Channel, who are Nazi hunters. They go to Argentina, they find these guys, and they need support for their History Channel shows where they hunt Nazis. Gosh
Is
dang
that
it.
really a show?
I think, if I remember correctly from when I was like 14, yes.
That show would have been a lot cooler if they tried doing it maybe like in the 80s when, like, if you're going to hunt a Nazi, like if you go to Argentina now and you find a Nazi, that Nazi's like 100 years old. It's not going to
He's in a wheelchair and he's just drooling. And it's like,
Yeah,
you did bad things. And he's
it's
like,
like it's not good anymore. It's not cool anymore. You got to beat up that Nazi when they can at least run.
Right.
So yeah, this is a podcast about clothes.